Hello, everyone. Welcome to Aging and Spirituality, our podcast where we examine our unrealized life potentials and what we can do in aging that will fill in the holes of the things that we haven't done so far in this lifetime. We want to talk about how to be spiritual in the third trimester of our life. And really what I'm going to talk about today is why researchers say that becomes very important to people over 60 years old, that being spiritual is really one of their biggest goals. So I want to talk about me when I hit 60, just to kind of bring it home, my own particular experience. I know I felt something really different when the numbers changed to 60. In my 50s, the time just kind of flew by, and I really didn't question that period of my life. It felt like I was still vital, very much alive, and not worrying about being an older person. But 60 was something else for me. It was like this space kind of opened up for some kind of newness, and I didn't find it particularly comfortable at first. And I think as it turned out, I really needed to change my perception or my perspective, what it meant to age, before I could be really satisfied with what was going on in my life. So what did I change to be more comfortable? First of all, I fully accepted that age happens. I know that sounds silly, but there really isn't a mental and emotional process that you go through when you realize there's nothing you can do to stop this. You might as well accept it and be good at it and find out where the good is in it. And that's a process in itself. But I really did have to go through that emotional process of realizing that on a lot of levels, I was unconsciously resisting the fact that I was moving into this period of my life. I wanted to just pretend I'm still 16. I feel 16 inside. So what the heck, everybody else, just go away.
I think we all feel like that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't work though, right?
No, because we're not 16, right?
We're not 16. And the body always lets you know first, what the heck, we're not 16. But, there's so many other processes that are going on that it's, really important to open up to what the newness is and what the good is in the newness, because there is a lot of that as well. So after I took a look at some of those unconscious patterns that were happening underneath the surface, I started asking different questions. I started putting my focus in different places. So instead of being afraid, that my body's breaking down and that I'm not going to be able to, I don't know, play tennis or run or do all the things that I've physically done my whole life, I just started looking at the areas in my life where I was fully functioning, and I just shifted that focus. I can still play tennis. I just can't play 5 days a week or, 7 days a week. I can't play for 4 hours at a time. I can play for 2 hours at a time. So, you start to understand the limitations of your body as it gets older. It gets a little more tired. You have to think about feeding it right. You have to think about exercising in a way that is not imbalanced, for where you are at this stage in your life. So, I still work. My mind is still clear. My body's strong. I can still do whatever I want. But the one difference that I didn't foresee was that I became much more discerning in how I spend my time and who I spend it with.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Can you talk about that for yourself, like how that clarity came into focus for you?
Yeah, I agree with you. I had that same thing. It's sort of like, I don't want to, it's not like waste my time, but spend my time on things that aren't going in the direction I want to go in,
Right.
that aren't of real value. I mean, I worked in a lot of marketing jobs, and, it was great. They provided the income and, and all kinds of opportunities. But right now, I want to spend my time on things like this, that are helping others,
Wait, that's how, okay, there's her intention and her distinction she made. I was going to stop her and ask that question, and she just volunteered it. Her intention has been, and since I've known her, a long time now, a lot of years, 40 something years has always been to be of service and helping other people. And so, she's been doing that, teaching yoga her whole life. But now you get to this age and you got even more time to be able to do that. So that, you don't have to worry so much about, doing your marketing job or money or whatever it is. And you can think about, wow, what can I build to be able to help more people? What do I know now at 60 or 70 that I can use to maybe build a business, maybe do what we're doing, which is building a podcast? What are the things that we're good at and that are unique to us that, we can put together and other people can benefit? That becomes really important at this stage in life. So getting clear on what it is that's most important to you at this stage is a really big deal. That often has to do with what you're good at, what makes you unique, and what your calling is. That's something that most people struggle with all of their lives, and as you get older, it becomes much more clear and easier to know. This is how I want to spend my day.
I think that's the point too. I'm much more clear about how I want to spend my time, and I'm more careful with my time.
Right. Right. For sure. Yeah. So, besides Chris and I've spoken to other boomers and discovered that what they really want is to age successfully. And that, what we were just talking about, has a lot to do with it. Knowing what's important to you and doing it, getting it done. Having, of course, that physical vigor is important. Having a continued growth intellectually, emotionally, all of those things. And if you have to work, have it be meaningful work. Like we still work, right? We're still podcasting, we're still teaching yoga, we're doing these things, but it means something to us because this is our legacy. This is what we are leaving for the next generation. And that's a big part of it. So that's very common for the majority of boomers. They want to be able to leave a legacy that matters to them. They also have a sense of urgency about answering that question, who am I? If you haven't spent time like we have, Chris and I have been fortunate. We began our spiritual journey seeking in very young ages, in our 20s. So if you're in your 60s and you're just beginning, there's a great sense of urgency to be able to understand who you are and what your life's about and what your purpose is and all of those things, which, by the way, listeners, is why we're here. This is why we're hanging out. Those questions that you have, this is where we want to spend our time, is talking to you about those things.
And it's never too late to start.
Never.
I mean, I know people who started meditating in their 70s and 80s and had incredible transformations that made a big difference.
No question. I mean, in India, that's the plan. Once you get to a certain age, you're expected to go off and live your spiritual journey and do all the stuff that you couldn't do because you were working or raising kids. It's like, they still live, all together in one family. So it's, they make it work that way. But so it does kind of happen to all of us. We get to a point in our lives when we really want to harvest the wisdom of the years, especially for people like us who have really studied one particular journey for a long time. And okay, so I think I've already said that. I was going to say that past 60 is the most crucial time for spiritual development and spiritual growth. So if you're feeling that way, just know that you're not alone. We're not just saying it. I know Chris was doing some research on boomer age people this week, and I was looking up some stuff too. And they say the same thing. Spiritual growth becomes very important as you get to this part of your life. So,
and as you focus on spirituality, what all of the research, the National Institute of Health and, very scientific research is saying that actually helps your well-being on every level.
Yes. You learn to accept, you learn to be grateful, you learn a lot of things that'll help you being older. So accepting death, all of those things that happen in old age. you're going to be benefited by understanding spirituality for sure. So, what can we do to see things more through spiritual eyes? So, number one suggestion is expanding your consciousness. Develop a practice that increases your intuitive capacities. You want to activate those intuitive powers and discover who you truly are from the inside out. So some of those practices are going to include meditation. That's our number one tool here that you'll hear us talk about all the time. Being mindful or present is another one. I also discovered something interesting that a lot of people do is doing a life review and doing journaling. This is something that can put you very much in touch with not only what has happened to you, but what's going on in your present reality and what to do about the rough spots and the good spots and how to hold yourself open to much more spiritual expression.
And journaling helps you know more what you really want.
No doubt about that. I'm going to talk a little bit more about journaling. So hang on to your thoughts and we're going to get there in a second. Let's see, many boomers, as you know, it's kind of natural for them to become mentors to friends, to young people, to other elders, by doing some kind of a service in community. And often these kinds of efforts, like not unlike what we're doing here, is that helps people heal so they can work through what it means to leave their egos behind and live in a more spiritual space, environment, life. So elders are, I love this term, it's, elders are like sages. They offer experience, kind of balanced judgment, a kind of wisdom that can really be a good thing for the welfare of their communities, society, and at large. So when you're thinking about your own life, what is the legacy that you want to pass on? You can meditate on this and find some answers, or you can do what we just mentioned, which is a life review. Sit down, take time to harvest your life and be aware of what has changed you, what you've learned, and what will help others. So just a quick story about where I am in my life right now. I'm contemplating, and this is such a huge step for 2023, writing a memoir. It sounds like such an interesting idea, right? I wrote a book back in 2015. It was very self-helpy and how-to and all that kind of stuff, nonfiction, which doesn't really appeal to me anymore. I don't have a desire or calling to do that again. But telling stories, creating stories is one of my bucket list things that has not happened. Something that I've wanted to do my whole life. So in doing this talk and thinking back about, okay, what it is that I have not accomplished, that is one of them. I want to be more of a storyteller. So a memoir is kind of a step between doing full out fiction, which I find really a big bridge to get across at this point. But also doing a memoir is so intimate and vulnerable. You have to go back and experience probably a lot of things that, your inner workings are going to say, no, I
wanted to forget about that.
I don't want to do that again.
All that, yeah.
Exactly. But the encouraging part of it for me is that I know I'm a different person looking back than I was when those things were happening to that person. So it's going to give me this objectivity in this space to be able to look at the things that happen as a young person from an entirely different point of view. And if I can create a story out of that, that will be a goal that's accomplished for me this year. So that's kind of what I got out of doing a life review. A lot of the other things that are in my life are on track, in terms of what I want to do with podcasting and teaching people about meditation and spiritual work and that kind of stuff. So the other thing was journaling, which Chris and I were just talking about, and I've been trying to do that as well. If anybody's ever done journaling, they're going to know Julia Cameron's work, the Artist's Way, and I love her Vein of Gold, and she always has these exercises, 3 morning pages where you just pick up a pen and you just keep rolling. You don't let the pen stop, and I resist that like crazy. but I've been doing it the last few weeks and really enjoying opening up that space, having the pen flowing, just letting it go. And then I will often just rip the stuff up and throw it out because I don't want to look at it, but I do want to get that process of the pen flowing going. So here are some questions. If you're listening now, this is a good time to pick up your pen and write these questions down if you're going to do some journaling. Here's one really good question. What would I regret not having done if I were to die now? I know it sounds like kind of a scrunchy question to ask, but I ask that one of myself all the time because I really want to make sure that I don't have any of these things that are unsung,
you don't want to miss what's important.
I do. I want to learn. And 23 for me is learning how to tell stories. And what's past that, I have no idea. And I'm not asking, and it's all okay, because that's my goal for now.
Right.
So, okay, so what would you regret not having done if you were to die now? Number 2, what remains incomplete in your life? For me, that's an offshoot of that question, but it's also still good to answer. For me, becoming a better story is still remains not complete for me. So that's where I'm going to spend some time this year. And number 3, what do I want the next generation to know from my life experience? That's such a great question. And I am hoping, this is my goal in writing the memoir, is that if I become a good storyteller, those things that I want to impart, that knowledge, that wisdom, will be there in story form. Not this, I know better than you, and if you just read my self-help book, you'll understand it.
Always communicate better than anything.
Stories do, don't they? They do.
Want to know personal experiences.
They do, but they also learn better through story because they can interpret it from their point of view and apply it to the things that have happened in their life without having to track, my life and what I did with it and blah, 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 blah. So that's the beauty and the genius of story that I really want to get into this year. So, okay. So here's another interesting thing. If you have children, you may want to write a letter to each of them with all that mushy stuff that you feel about them, but that you never say enough, unless you're just like one, crazy people like us, just I love you all the time. But by doing that, you're really accepting that, you're leveling up in age and you're tying up loose ends. And it makes you feel less anxious about time passing by because you're making those connections and expressing that love in a way that's so important. It's so important to you. I'm sure it is. It's important to us. Just make a habit of being a mushy love person with your people. Shower your people with love. That's what James Taylor would say, right?
Right.
So, and then one other thing that I wanted to acknowledge about talking at this stage about getting older is that acknowledge the elephant in the room, and that is fear. When you're feeling depressed, alone, vulnerable, recognize that you're in a fearful space and let it go. I know those sound like simple words, but if you don't know how to do that, you have to practice it. You have to let that fear go. Don't let it control any part of your precious time. That's like number one thing you want to do in your golden years is don't spend any time being in fear. Be in love as much as you possibly can. Focus on being grateful. Celebrate your life. Celebrate that you're still alive. Start your day every day with gratitude. That'll keep you on the love positive side of life. If you're doing things that are just creating busyness so you can fill up time out of habit, you've got something dogging you that you got to turn around and look at it in the face. Find out what it is and get rid of it so you can get back to being in that space of love. And find something new to do. What excites you now? What excited you in 16 is not going to be even close to what excites you now. Think about those things, acknowledge them, write them down, figure out how you're going to get them done in this stage of your life.
Learning things just opens you up so much on every level,
Every level. Yeah. And you're just, as we get older, we do understand how to be in flow better, right? The more we meditate, the more we stay centered. We're in flow, and what that does is give you the ability to create and manifest what you want at much quicker rates of speed than when you were younger. You know, so you can get those things that you want, like get your little honey to-do list, you know, ticked off as you go
Right.
in your later years. So, okay. So find out what it is you love to do. You know, maybe you do things like researching diet and exercise and aging gracefully and all of those wonderful things that we can find out about what it takes to be healthy when you're our age, you know, changing your diet, trying new things, you know, exploring new things. One of the things that I'm doing is learning how to make new friends. I haven't spent a lot of time doing that in my younger years because I was either studying yoga or working or raising my child as a single mom. So I didn't have a lot of time for that. So now I'm starting to open myself up more to the idea of connecting with people just for the idea of having fun. What the heck?
What a reason than to just have fun. Yeah.
Right. I mean, how much time do you actually spend doing that? I mean, you know, like people ask me, what do you do for fun? Well, I play tennis. What else? That's about it. Yeah, when I'm not working, that's pretty much what I'm doing.
Right.
So there you go. Those things become very important, including having fun. So just in closing, we're coming to the end here. I wanted to just say there's a few other things to look at, you know, like what kind of, how can you establish a meditation practice? Okay, call us biased. We we think that's so important to get your butt in the seat every morning and practice yoga. Maybe you're doing Tai Chi or something like that. Whatever your practice for the body is to relax it, you know, integrate that with your meditation practice. Whether if you're doing pranayams and breathing, integrate that with your meditation practice, even if it's 15 minutes. Do it, commit to it morning and night. It will make such a difference in your journey as an, you know, aging person on the spiritual path. Okay, so what else did I want to say here? Well, I think that's it. I mean, get clear on what it is you want. Meditation will help you do that. And don't let anything stand in your way. Be grateful, be positive, and enjoy the fact that you're still here on the planet. Be grateful and love every healthy day full of vitality.
Absolutely. And the more you appreciate every day, the better every day will be.
Will get. Exactly. It will grow and grow in its capacity to delight you.
So thanks so much for joining us. Lots of food for thought and lots of opportunity to grow here.
Yes. Okay. See you next week.
See you soon.
Take care.